Hello, young artists. It's Mr. Moen with your Cartoon Club. This is for the first and the second graders, lesson number 25. Today we're doing the last drawing for our Eugene story. It's got a really exciting title, Making a Cover. You know, the cover, the front of a book. I don't know how to make that word cover exciting. Do you? Making a cover! Well, that's what we're going to do, and we have our sample up here on the board. Let's take a look, and we're keeping this very, very simple. When you make a cover for something, you do not want to complicate it. You want to just show maybe one or two important things, and of course in our story the important things are Eugene and Sylvie. Now, what I've done with this is I put a border around it. That's the very first thing we'll do. Then we're going to think about this space, which is for our grasshopper, and this space, which is for our snail. And then in the middle, we have our title, The Story of Eugene and Sylvie. Now that's the title of the book. And then what's this word? By. Well, what do you think goes down here? Your name goes down here. And when you do your name, I want you to print it very, very carefully and beautifully. Okay? You could even put a date down here if you want. It's April 1st, 2022. Well, get out your paper, get out your pencil, get out your eraser, and we'll get to work. Now our border should be close to the edge of the paper, but not right up against it. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. If it wobbles a little bit, that's okay. Be sure to stop in time so you can go in another direction. So I got horizontal, I've got vertical. What is the next one? Horizontal. And then vertical. Okay. Now I like to do different kinds of borders, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a double border. Now that's a little tricky. You want to keep it even. There. Okay. Now at this point you might want to stop the video, students or teachers, because I do draw rather fast and you're still building your technique. So when you've got this, then come back to the running the video again. Now, let's look at the sample up here. I colored in my double border. You know what? I kind of don't like it. I don't like it. I like what I did here on my drawing sample for you. I like that white space in there, so I'm going to leave that like that, okay? So let's go back to the idea of our composition. You know the composition means where we put things in our picture. So we've got Eugene, the title, and Sylvie. So I'm going to start with Eugene here. Are you using your hand to work out the space? I hope you do. I think it's such a good thing to do. That's something I learned this year, was to take and make my hand sort of draw without making lines, so I would have the space correct. Okay. Well, Eugene's head has to be here. It can be rather large. It can even be larger than my sample. And it's an egg, of course. There we go. Now we'll just do the basics. Let's not do the face yet. Let's do the back and the chest and the tummy. Looks a little like a ghost, doesn't it? And then I'm going to put a wing here. And I'm going to overlap a little. Now, of course, we know to take this away. And then, look what I did here. The wing disappears behind the border, doesn't it? And you can do that on a drawing like this. Now I'll put the other grasshopper wing back here, and it's behind. And I'll make a arm coming forward. And of course we're going to color that in, aren't we? And his two claws. He's kind of reaching out towards his friend. Now, be sure to put these eyes near this side of the egg. And these can be big and strong. Little nostrils. Well, he looks excited to see his friend, doesn't he? I kind of wish I had antennas. Would you like to have antennas? I've always wanted to have a dog tail too. I mean, not a dog tail, it would be my tail, but I have a dog, William, who has the most beautiful brown tail. If I had a tail, it would be like his. Okay, now a few little bits like this, and some pattern here. I'm doing light strokes here. Have you ever picked up an insect with wings? Sometimes you'll find them on the sidewalk or on the ground, like in your garden or your backyard, and they'll be dead. And you can pick them up and they might have wings, and they're very, very beautiful. Okay, I think I have room for one Eugene leg here. I'm not going to put his whole body in. There we go. Now, it's a little tricky to put Sylvie in. Why? I drew this 3 times before I'm giving you this lesson. And I found I would put the head too low or I'd put it too high. So what I want to do is I want to come over from the eyes here, like this. I'm coming straight across, see? And I want Sylvie's head to be here. Okay. So I'm coming across. I want her head to be here. And there's our Sylvie snail head. And here we go. Now here her body is going to go off the bottom of the paper into the corner. Now the spiral is going to be sort of like that wing or the tail on Eugene, because the spiral is going to go off. It'll disappear behind the border. So I just kind of let my chalk come around. See, there we go. We know it's there. We don't have to see all of it. And now, the wonderful antler eyes. And Sylvie is looking at Eugene. Now, by now you should be feeling quite confident in drawing these little characters. They're so basic. It's so fun. Now, I rather like the way this looks. This is called a line drawing. A line drawing means there's just lines on paper. There's no shading or anything like that. And I think for the sake of this lesson, I'm going to leave it this way, but what you should know is that different artists have different things that they like to do at different times. Let's look at our sample up here. Not only did I color in the border, but I colored in Sylvie's body. I made it gray. And I did the same thing with Eugene. But right now, I like this. I like this look. These lines have a certain kind of brightness to them, a kind of a sharpness to them. And if I color that in, it's going to take it away. But if you want to color yours in, you go ahead and do that. Now we have our column here. And here's a hard thing for you to do. Getting the spacing right. It has to say the story of Eugene and Sylvie. Now that's 6 spaces. The story of Eugene and Sylvie. Now you want to leave some space down here for your signature, right? So what you might do is with a pen, with your pencil, draw very light lines going across here. Now I'm going to do it with my chalk. Practice one more time. The story of Eugene and Sylvie. So, can the camera see that?
Mm-hmm.
The story of Eugene and Sylvie. Now, if you've done this with light lines, you can erase these lines later. You don't want to keep those. Okay, so get these lines ready, kids. Stop the video if you need to. I'll spell the words out for you. And let's do printing. Here we go. The T-H-E story S-T O R Y of, you know, of sounds like O-V, doesn't it? But we pronounce the F like a V sound. The story of Eugene, E, U, G, E, N, E. And A, N, D. I like my printing. Sylvie, S, Y, L, V, I, E. And then, of course, we're going to need to put this little word down here, and this could be very tiny. Let me get a tiny piece of chalk. B-Y for buy. And then, of course, your name is going to go down here. Your first and last name as neatly as you can print it, okay? So let's work on finishing this. I'm going to erase my lines. I want to see what it looks like without these lines here. Okay. You know, I'm good at printing. I'm terrible at cursive. You haven't learned cursive yet, but you will in the 3rd or the 4th grade. There we go. The Story of Eugene and Sylvie by Mr. Moen. Okay, now if you want to add some shading to this, you can. If you want to put a paint can and a brush in the empty spaces, you can do that. You can play with this, and you can keep it just the way this is, kids. Okay, so that is our cover. That's our lesson for today. And what I would like you to do is be ready to go over the order of all the pages that we've done. I think we've done about 12 pages, maybe 11, including the cover. And teachers, I will have a written out list, page 1, page 2, page 3, with simple titles indicating what the drawings are in case you missed a lesson or two. So you can go back and do that with your students. The most important thing is that they finish this book this year. Starting with lesson number 27, we're going to be doing one-of-a-kind lessons. Please skip those if your kids haven't finished the Eugene and Sylvie story. It's It's really important that they do this from the beginning to the middle to the end. We had some foundational concepts about how to make three-dimensional effects and other concepts, composition and so forth. And one of the big thrills is for a kid to have this as a completed story. No matter what level of accomplishment they've brought to their drawings, they've tried very hard, and it should be seen as one whole thing. Okay, so next week we put it all together, okay? So, be safe, and what am I going to suggest? 10 minutes a day of drawing at home using the ideas that we've been using. Okay, until then, I'll see you next week, kids. Bye for now.